welcome everyone, and yes, very good to have you here again. So welcome back. So we're very delighted of another chance to have a therapeutic meeting. So we carry on with the same process we followed last time. So for the ones that are here for the first time, welcome. But yeah, so what we'll do is a short talk on the topic of the power of thoughts. It's very important. And then we're gonna finish off with a final meditation. And we have the healing available, so everyone is more than welcome to receive this energy. So it's a combination of spiritual energies and our human magnetism that's applied, but the goal being to balance our center forces and just get us ready to go again. So you're more than welcome to, at the end of this talk, we're going to just invite you. So it's just taking the 2 seats in the back, and it's very quick. But if you want to chat more about Spiritism, the books we have here, or if you have any questions about tonight's talk, or if you want to ask any questions as well, feel free to stay back, and we will have a little brief tea and coffee as well available after. So a chance to mingle. But yeah, so the power of thoughts. Oh, yes, we could talk about this for days, I think, months, because yeah, there's a lot that we are learning every day about. Science is actually getting there, catching up with some concepts that we know already in Spiritism. But yeah, it's always refreshing, I think, to think about our capacity to think and create. So we're going to start with just the definition of thought. So based on science, thoughts would be, or a thought would be an idea produced by thinking, or something that just occurs in the mind. So science nowadays explains a lot about the neurotransmission action happening between our brain cells, pretty much, and that we are just creating things with our brains. But of course, we're going to take this topic according to the Spiritism and understand how those processes actually happen and what, in the view of Spiritism, we can conceive of thought. So, so we can think of synonyms of thought being like an idea, a notion, or a line of thinking, a belief, a mental picture. So that's just how our brains perceive, I guess, what's going on. But according to Spiritism, thought is actually energy. So when we conceive ourselves as eternal spirits, we understand that the spirit has the power to create, and thought is the creating energy. So everything is conceived first in the mind. Our bodies, our physical bodies that we are using to be here in the material realm right now, was constructed based on a model that in Spiritism we call the perispirit, which is the semi-material body that connects the body to the spirit. So do you know that your minds, each one of you, have created your perispirits? Yes, it has. Your mind, my mind, everyone's minds here. We have created that through our own creative energy. A lot of people think, oh, there was a supreme intelligence that put it all together. No, he gave us the intelligence that was evolving through the different reigns of nature until we were then reaching this level of being humans. And by the time we were given the ability to think and to choose, free will, we started becoming co-creators. So we have the ability to choose and create with our minds. It's very deep, I know, but we're gonna get there. So, but I would like to take a minute to consider this statement that will change your lives right now. Your thought can change your life. Yes, it can. It is true. So when we think of our minds as energy creating devices, we can believe that we can actually take whatever course in life that we choose. Right, so there's 2 things that will be really important today that if you take that away with you, we will be very happy, because that's what I'm trying to take away from you as well. It's thought and will. These two things, or intent, these two things go together. Because when we want something, we think about it, we are starting to create energies that are going to put that into motion. So, I've used this book as a very good reference for this talk tonight. Thought and Life by Emmanuel, or Dear Emmanuel. So he was the Spiritist, the spiritual mentor for Chico Xavier, that you probably know, a very nice medium. It's like I read a lot of books. So this book was used in the schools over a generation in the spiritual world to teach people that are about to incarnate how they can use their minds and how they can understand the mechanisms of thought as forces to live good lives and succeed in their reincarnatory planes. So basically, they used to have all these courses there in the spiritual realm preparing people, and they decided, oh well, maybe we can put the book together, and the ones that are already there, maybe they didn't do this course, you know, they didn't have the time, they can read and understand a little bit more. So this book is all about enlightening us yet again that our thought process is a reflection of ourselves. So what we think is really what we are. A lot of people say that. And how can we understand these mechanisms of force that we have in, you know, creation and all that, and change the life path, I think, that we might be having before, or we decide then to change it. How do we get in balance with this purpose that we have, and then use this power of creation that we have as well to create something good for us? So his initial definition is that today we are the heirs of the positive reflexes from our past experiences. So that we know through reincarnation, we lived many lives, and in each life we were having different experiences. All these experiences led to who we are today. Whether when they were good or not so good experiences, we learned lessons, very important lessons that made who we are today. If you think about this life, you know, thank God some of the memories from previous lives can be erased, but if you think about this life as it is, even the tough challenges that we lived through, this life made who we are today. And, you know, we can actually be grateful, I guess, for many of those experiences because we've learned, right? So it's the same thing. But he says that we have the means to change the direction, hello, welcome, of our lives to achieve true happiness. We have the power to do that. So he uses the definition of the mind as the mirror of life. So how deep is this? Have you thought about that? That your mind is the mirror of your life? Well, it is. And he says that when we think about life as this mirror of our minds, the heart will be the reflection of the mind. So the thoughts and the emotions are also connected. So in this book he talks about how our thoughts then initiate our emotions, and this energy that we create, because we are energy and we are always impacting the energy around us, this energy reflects the emotion that we have, that we feel in our hearts. But it all starts here first. So did you know that they say the speed of light is the fastest speed with which anything can travel in the universe? Some researchers started studying the speed of thought. So in this university in the United States, they've got a sensitive person, like a medium person, that could receive thought transmissions, and they decided, let's test to see if we can have someone projecting images from the university campus. So they've selected one person that was going to sit at the same university campus. At that particular time they set, they were going to sit down, look at whatever they were looking at, take a photo, and project that image in their mind, sending it to the person that was going to receive it. They've done the same thing. They got 3 other volunteers. Another one was in another state, another one was in the other side of the country, and another one was in another continent. And in those set times, they were all doing the same activity. They were projecting images and sending it through for this medium to receive. They've all got received at the same time. So no matter how far away you are, if you think about it, if you think about someone, for example, in that case, they're receiving the thought immediately. So yes, thought can travel quicker than the light speed. And that makes sense because we start understanding a lot of the things we hear, I guess, and we read, I guess, in Spiritist novels, how sometimes we have a loved one that has evolved already, and we're here, we're behind. They're in a different planet, but they think of us with a thought of love and trying to rejoice us and help us progress. And just by thinking about us, we receive this nice kind of feeling because they are manipulating energy around them, and that thought is so strong when it's, I guess, pushed with the feeling of love, that it travels across the universe and it gets through to us, and we are able to receive it. And that happens as well between us here, in incarnate life, with people that we love that has discarnated as well. Like, we are constantly exchanging energies, and it's all done through the mind, through thought. That's why he says the mind is the mirror of life. So he says that, so Emmanuel we're talking about, so just for the ones that are a little bit late, we're talking about this book. So this book, Thought and Life, is the basis of most of our talk today, because Emmanuel has got some very nice insights into our mental capacities and our creating forces as spirits, and all that we can do with our beautiful minds if we put ourselves into working. So we're talking about the first definition he has in there. So he talks about this impact that the thoughts and emotions will have in ourselves. And I mean, there's plenty of scientific evidence nowadays as well. So there's another one that I think is nice to mention here. I don't know if you've heard about this, but if you haven't, it's worth Googling it. There is a Japanese doctor called Masaru Emoto. I don't know if you've seen some of his research, but he wanted to prove that human thoughts and intentions can alter physical reality. So material things, such as the molecular structure of water. So he initiated the experiments by putting 2 containers with rice in a school setting. And in one of the containers, there was the word "youthful," and the other one had the word "thank you." And the kids that were walking by every day, where the experiment containers were asked to say those words as they were walking by, with intention. So by the end of the 30 days, the container with the positive thoughts, with the word "thank you," was perfectly clear. The rice was exactly the same. And the other container with "youthful" had started rotting, and there was mold. It was looking quite dark. So that was his first evidence of the power of thoughts impacting matter. And then he followed that with taking photos of the structure of water glasses. So microscopic photos of how the water particles were looking like, the molecules. And then he put different words like hope, hate, love, anger. And the same experiment was done, and he took photos of how the water molecular structure changed. And it's pretty cool. I invite you to Google it because it's really cool. The photos can really show, like, there was, I think, one that was, the word was Mother Teresa. And it was beautiful. You can see them looking like crystals. Like, they all have different crystal kind of forms. And obviously the ones with anger, hate, whatever, had this dark kind of look and a weird shape. So he was proving that this impacts, the thinking, the intention impacts on the matter. So that makes us think, okay, what is our minds? So what are our minds doing right now? How are we living our lives at the moment? What kind of thoughts are we having? And I guess Spiritism tries to explain to us, obviously we have a model, we have a bunch of moral guidelines to support us in trying to live better lives, be happier, achieve better things, try to think about what is it that we're doing, like question things, not just live every day going, oh well, let's see where this will take us. So I think this is a good opportunity to reflect a little bit, because that's what, St. Augustine gave us a nice input, I guess, in the Spiritist book, when Kardec asked the question about what was the most efficacious method of ensuring one's moral improvement in the present life, resisting attraction of evil. So that was the question. How do we do that? How do we improve ourselves? How do we become better? How do we deflect evil spirits or evil thoughts, or, you know, without being attracted to evil? And he answered, one of the sages of antiquity has told you, know yourself. And then Kardec, as the nice teacher that he was, he kept inquiring, okay, we fully admit that there's a lot of wisdom in that statement, but how does self-knowledge, but this self-knowledge is just what is most difficult to acquire. So he understood that self-knowledge was pretty hard to get. So he said, by what means can we acquire it? And then Saint Augustine said, do what I did myself when I was living upon the earth. At the close of each day, I examined my conscience, reviewed all that I had done, and asked myself whether I had not failed in some duty, whether someone might have a reason to complain about me, or if I was in this way that I succeeded in obtaining self-knowledge of myself. So basically, he told us, just every evening, take some time to reflect. That sounds pretty simple, right? But it is a habit, and I think we all need to do that. These days, we live lives in a very hectic way. We're jumping from commitment to commitment, and it's almost like we're running against time all the time. You know, oh my God, like how hard it is to have 5 minutes to calm our minds and go, okay, am I happy with what I've done today? Am I happy with who I am right now? What is it that I want to be in 5 years? Can I see myself in 5 years? What would it look like? You know, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or when I return to the spiritual realm. So I think we all have this ability, sometimes in business or when we have a project, to set goals and then work towards them to try and achieve them in a nice methodical way. But when it comes down to our self-improvement, to our spiritual improvement, sometimes we leave that aside a little bit and we go like, oh yeah, you know, maybe whatever I'm thinking might take me there or not. So we have to really analyze, what is it that we want? Remember, we're talking about will and thought being the two main things, right? So to understand the importance of will, Emmanuel is trying to explain how important is the will, the intent, right? So it says, will and intention are defined as two of the most important parts of our minds. The will is the enlightened and vigilant manager that supervises all sectors of our mental activities. So he compares the human mind like a living mirror of consciousness, as if it was an office space subdivided in many departments. So it's a mirror of our life, fair enough, you got that? A lot of departments. So there's the department of desire, where our purposes and aspirations are at work, simultaneously taking us to activity. So we need to want things, so that's in that department of desire. What is it that we really want? What is it that we desire? The department of intelligence expands our evolutionary and cultural assets. So obviously we're here to improve ourselves, so we should be looking for knowledge outside just spiritual knowledge. We can get smarter, we can learn different sciences, you know, improve. It's all installed in there. Our intelligence will be evolving. Our department of imagination in the mind is the one responsible for slowly joining the reaches of ideals and sensitivity. And then the department of memory, where all our experiences are archived. So like I was saying, we are living lives, putting everything in there. So it's on the perispirit, but it's in the mind. And the will, being the most important thing, is the helm of all kinds of driving forces incorporated in our knowledge. So the will drives all those departments, because depending on what we want, what we really desire, what we have the intent of doing, we're going to be pushing some of those areas forward. So he explains that thought is this electromagnetic force. So every time we are emitting thoughts, like I was saying, it's through energy, right? electricity, magnetism, impacting on the energy around us. So we all talk about this cosmic fluid that created everything, so we are all surrounded by cosmic fluid. When we take those moments in our lives to self-reflect and go, okay, what is it that I'm really wanting out of my life right now? Take a moment, ask this question, and then think, okay, is what I'm doing today driving me to get to what I want to, or not? If not, okay, what do I have to do to adjust those plans? And that's how we start. Obviously, by meditation, we will learn to calm our minds and really check what's going on in our minds. I think that's one thing that there's a lot of techniques that we can talk about here that can help us understand how to do that, because yeah, it's a big problem sometimes, even to just calm the minds, isn't it? So there's so many meditation techniques that will help us just have inner silence for a few minutes. How good would it be if we could just switch off? So we generally have 95,000 thoughts a day, every day. That's a lot of thinking, isn't it? When I heard the numbers, I was like, oh my god, okay, well that makes sense, because I'm generally tired by the end of the day, and I do think a lot. So it's training ourselves to stop the noise in our minds, and then during those moments of centering, when we do that, when we connect to that inner self, we have the opportunity to sometimes just listen to our mentors, because they are here with us to support us in this journey. They might be trying to send a lot of hints, you know, like, oh, maybe that's not the right path, you know, or oh, maybe you should consider changing this or changing that. And when we actually put ourselves in that situation of openness and then center ourselves, let them interfere, well, obviously through prayer, we can invite them, please help me think about these things. You will see, when we are putting the right intent onto it, they will be able to step in and help. And then it will be really easy to put that plan together. Okay, my five-year goals, my 10-year goals, my end of this lifetime goals. And, you know, each incarnation will be able to just do so much. I think we have to be realistic about it. You know, I sometimes want to do all this stuff and I have to remind myself, like, okay, well, one life at a time. Focus. It's important to focus, but I think finding things that we like, that really help us feel joyful, could be a nice goal. What is it that I really like? And, you know, am I having the time to do it? Maybe I should adjust this. And it's really like, we should try to understand the power that this intent has for ourselves and in our brains. It's really crazy. There's another scientist that did this research. His name is Dr. Jacques Dusons. He talked about self-suggested neuroplasticity. So what is neuroplasticity? It's the power of the brain to change itself. So we change the way the neural pathways are going, changing the actual physical structure of the brain. Self-suggested, which means, because back before he started this research, people thought that we were who we were because of our circumstances around us, the environment we lived in, the experiences we had, for example, in our childhood, what we eat, and that was all. And he came up with this research saying, no, you can actually induct yourself to change. Despite what experiences you had before, your brain is able to change. So you can't say that my brain is just the way it is. And why is that? So Spiritism explains it's because the mind is not in the brain. The mind is with the spirit. The spirit creates the perispirit, which creates the body and the brain. The brain is just a temporary machine that's making our bodies operate the way they're supposed to operate, but the spirit has the force to control it. So he did a number of researches, and he's actually helping people that have cerebral palsy, have the will to change some of the mechanics in their brain so they can actually use mechanical movements in their bodies. It's all doable. And Dr. Norman Dodge as well had a collection of case stories detailing people that progressed with different conditions, and they were like physical conditions that they were able to change through intent, setting goals, and working for them. So he had, in this book called The Brain Changes Itself, he tells all these different stories. So he says there's a case of this woman that was born with half a brain, and she rewired her brain to work as a whole. I was like, oh my god, like I have a whole brain. I'm not doing much right now. A woman that was labeled retarded who cured her deficits with brain exercises, and now she cures those of others. Blind people that are learning to see, people with learning disorders that were cured, IQs that were raised just with brain exercises, which means they had to want that, and then they would put the energy into it. So it's crazy. There's a lot of proof already that this is possible. So it's not just, oh, the spirits are saying, no. The spirits did say that, but slowly science is catching up, and we have proof of that. So that just, I think, drives us to maybe want it more. We can do a lot more than what we think we can do. So yeah, so a few things, I guess, that we can use here to take away from tonight to think, okay, what can I do? It's really important to write goals. I believe positive goals, even if they look like, oh my God, I can't really conceive that one. Yeah, just write them down. Visualize the goals. The mind is creating things all the time, isn't it? We were talking about all these energies. So the moment you stop and you visualize your goal, do what Emmanuel was saying, is thought and emotion. So think about, how would I feel when I achieve this goal? What is the emotion I'm going to feel? If it's someone you're having trouble with, don't think about the problem. Our biggest mistake is that we think about the wrong stuff. We focus on the problem, not on the solution. So think about, how would it feel if we made peace? How would it feel if I really forgave this person? How would it look like? Visualize it. Tell yourself, I can do this. Divaldo Franco says, when we say, I can't do something, it's because we're pretty much saying, I do not want to do something. Because if we want to, we do it. So if we're trying to forgive someone, for example, we can't say, I can't forgive someone. We have to think, I am willing to forgive this person. And there's a very good thing that can be used. I don't know, everyone has different preferences, but I love positive affirmations. And I mean, we have to understand, positive affirmations that we will make for ourselves, they're not meant to change our lives completely, as in our problems will just go away. No, we can't be all romantic about it. We know that we are in this lifetime, in this reincarnatory path, because we have stuff to achieve and learn and all that. So that's not something we can change. But how we go through it can change a lot if we're positive about it, because we can just suffer whatever we have to suffer, if we have to suffer. Sometimes suffering is optional, I would say that. But whatever we can avoid, it's avoidable if we're being positive, because the more positive we are being, after everything that we were going through here, we can understand that we are attuning with minds that are in that same positive energy. We are putting that energy into place. We are sending into the universe. That's going to go back. There's a lot of like assimilation and receiving it back when it comes to thoughts. So yes, visualize those goals. Make some affirmations for yourself. Like I love Louise Hay. She's not a Spiritist author, and I've only found out recently that she passed away a year ago. Yeah, very sad. I was like, well, sad. Well, yeah, I mean, good for her. At 90 years of age, she was sleeping as she passed away, so she probably had a very peaceful passage, which is, what you deserve after she had such a life. But yeah, but she basically survived childhood violence. She cured herself from cancer by doing positive affirmations and not fighting against it, but thinking, I am surrendering to this, and I am surrendering to love. And she has a whole lot of books about how you can heal yourself through your mind, positive affirmations. I listen to her positive affirmations all the time on YouTube because I really like them. Affirmations to start your day, setting your intention for the day. I'm gonna go through today, okay, I'm gonna meet with that person, that meeting's gonna be great, I'm gonna do my best, or meeting with that person that I don't really like, oh, okay, I'm gonna really try and control myself. I am affirming that I will control myself. I'm gonna offer my love. I'm sending my love to that person right now, so we can at least get the thing we have to get done without having any problems. So it's all about intentions, and it's really powerful. You might want to have a journal, or you might just want to listen to something positive, but that's why it's so important to use those tools, you know, listening to good things, reading good things, because we are unlocking all these different powers within our minds when we do that. And there's hope for everyone. So we wanted to try and set up, because we're meeting here on a monthly basis, a 30-day challenge. So between now and our next meeting, we try to have at least one positive affirmation every morning. And after 30 days, we can check if there's anything that changed. And then next month, we can have a chat about this and see how did we go. Is everyone up for the challenge? Yeah? Awesome. Awesome. I am too. I'm gonna tell you, this has to work. So, well, I put here 1 or 3 positive affirmations. So every day for 30 days until we meet next month. Let's see if we can think about what is it that we're thinking, and we're putting that into practice then. Because, you know, talking is awesome, but doing it is different. But yeah, but it's the will. Remember the will. No, I will do it. I have the capability of doing it, and let's see how we go. But yeah, but thank you. So next month, so on the 2nd of October, we will have the topic of anxiety. So don't get anxious about the 30-day challenge, because we're going to talk about anxiety and how to deal with it. But yeah, but we'll have our final meditation now, and we have the healing. So you're more than welcome to just cue in here, and we'll have the healing, and then we can have a chat. Thank you.